StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to this session on DAF, a very crucial part of the personality test, because our research has revealed that a large number of questions are asked on the basis of DAF that you've given. But before I come to that, some general points. First of all, may I see your faces? Can I request all of you to open your videos? As I said last time, I'm no Amitabh Bachchan. I can't talk to a camera. I have to have faces in front of me. So I'm glad many of you have started opening. Please open your video so that I can see. And there will be times when I will ask you whether what I'm saying is right or wrong. Please nod your head to saying whether you agree, disagree, right or wrong. Open your videos, all of you, before we get cracking. Now, I'm glad that so many of you have already joined here, and I hope others also join, because what we are going to talk today is going to be very critical in terms of your personality test. First of all, let me once again remind you, all of you, that you should read the messages that we send to you in the WhatsApp group regularly and carefully. Both are very important. Regularly, because we will be announcing many things in the group. I make an attempt on occasions to reach out to you individually, but I think you should be more focused on the group where we send, either I or Furqan send messages to you with regard to the programs that we are having here. So please read those messages carefully. In these messages, or in my personal messages to you all, if I ask you to acknowledge that message, please have the courtesy to say, yes, I have received the message. At least that is little that you can do to us for what we are attempting to do, help you. I can see Shimon smiling. Others should also smile a bit, it helps. In your personality test, if you go absolutely glum, they will wonder what he will do if he faced with a crisis situation. So smile. You don't get to pay anything for smiling. Smile on occasions. So this is point number one. Read the messages very carefully and follow what is given in that message, because we will be sending you repeated messages on a number of issues, primarily with regard to the sessions that you're going to have in future, including your sessions with officers who've qualified very recently. We are making special effort because they are like you. I would have guided them a couple of years ago or a year ago, and they have kindly agreed then to guide you as to what sort of questions could be asked. So make the best of it. We've already announced two of them. One is on 24th at 8 o'clock in the evening. The other is on the 25th at 10:30 in the morning. My suggestion to you is that you should prioritize and attend these sessions necessarily. Because if you don't, you lose out on something, because these sessions with senior officers or junior officers will not be recorded for variety of reasons. They will not be put on YouTube. So my suggestion is, please attend those sessions. This is point number one. Point number two is that I have already started taking one-on-one sessions with some of you. I've already had some virtual discussions on phone, and I'll continue to do so. So any one of you wanting to have a personal conversation with me, kindly message me and I will indicate date and time when I'll have talked to you. I've been discussing with many of you and I have some feedback which I'll share with you as we go along. So this is as far as virtual sessions with me. I've also agreed to take physical sessions as I did last year, where I'll have a physical interface with you. For that, you have to message Furqan, and Furqan is organizing that. The first such set of sessions is being taken on the 25th of this month, which is a holiday. It's a Monday, but we are taking those sessions. And this will be held at the Rajendra Nagar office of StudyIQ, where I'll be personally available to you. Many of you have already requested Furqan for a one-on-one physical interface. He will inform you by this evening, but the slots are very limited. So it will be first come, first serve. Those of you who want to have a physical interface with me on the 25th, the sessions start from 12 o'clock. You can send in your name, Furqan. If slots are available, he will message to you. He'll give you the time when you have to come. Please come on time. And come on time is very important, because you should get into the habit of reaching places on time or attending to these sessions on time. Because if you are late for your personality test, then you could be in trouble. After having worked so hard for so many years, and suddenly you find Delhi traffic not allowing you to reach there, because Delhi traffic is nothing new. Delhi traffic has always been that way. So you can't afford to be late there. And my suggestion to you, it's a matter of habit of coming late to, sessions like this, or coming late to the interview. I can only share with you, in the 38 years of my career as a civil servant, I was never ever even once late for any meeting whatsoever. So it can be done. It's a question of habit, because I see still some people joining in now, and this is a virtual session. You could have easily joined earlier. And I have been requesting all of you to open your videos. I'm surprised that Nilay, Sahi Darsin, Nilay with whom I had an interaction, I have to request him twice. इतनी मैं मन्नत करता तो भगवान भी अपने दर्शन दे देते ना, लेकिन आप लोग दर्शन ही नहीं देते. अब देखिए कुछ लोगों ने खोला है. My suggestion is, what is the harm? Because as I keep saying now, I'm referring to some of the group discussions that I have been sneaking into, and I still find some of you not opening your videos during group discussions. My friends, body language is as important as your verbal language when you go for personality test. Hence, it is important for me to see you, for others to see you, because you have to look at the camera when you talk to them. The reason is very simple. When you go for a personality test, you will have to look into the face, into the eyes of the person who is asking the question. If you blind yourself, if you don't show yourself here, how in the hell are you going to get into the habit? I must give you one example. When I visited one of the groups, there was a person who was speaking very well he was speaking, but he was looking here, he was looking there as he was speaking, he was looking down as he was speaking. He could be in trouble. Now, these are very small things, but very important. And that is why I have been requesting you, open your videos, let me see your face, let me see what your expressions are, let me see how much you smile, let me see what is the frown on your face. These are things which are observed by personality, by the interview board, and if you don't do that, you could land into some trouble or the other. The second thing which I saw in a group discussion, and I'm suggesting this because I was very impressed with some of the groups. I'm not naming them here. Very impressed the manner in which they were being presented. And I told the person that you're doing very well. If I remember correctly, I see her face here. Was it Ashish Sharma in one of the groups that I said? Correct me if I'm wrong. Because I complimented her for the manner in which she was speaking, the manner in which she was looking into the camera. You know, that is what you got to cultivate. And friends, these 4, 5, 10, 15 marks are going to make life different for you. These 15 marks now will put you somewhere else. Imagine it will change your life. So take it very seriously, what point. Don't take yourself very seriously. You should keep smiling, but take the process seriously and try and do what I try to tell you. My other suggestion to you regarding group discussion is that some of you interrupt while the other person is speaking. Now, this is a habit that you should cultivate. Never ever interrupt in between. If you interrupt in between, especially when you are being asked a question by a board member, let him complete his sentence and give a 2-second pause. This 2-second pause is to see whether he has completed his sentence and then speak. This 2 seconds will also give you some opportunity to think over what he's saying. You don't have to jump into an answer. Secondly, I could see in some group discussions interruption because the person was eager to contribute what he was saying. There's no harm in being eager, but wait for your turn. Wait when you are asked. Wait when he's completed. And that's a courtesy that you extend to other members who are sitting there. Finally, before I come to this DAF detailer, in future, if you have any suggestions for this, please feel free to reach out to Furqan and give your suggestions. Because we are also learning as we are going along. If you feel a certain aspect is important to be discussed or shared, please say that. I will be having very frequent sessions, at least once in a week. I will come back to you for an open house session. Right now, we are talking on specific issues, but we will have open house sessions. If you so desire an open house session, I will come to that. For example, this morning, I was having a chat with an aspirant. I think she should be somewhere here. And she asked a very important question, which I didn't answer at that point in time because I thought that would be relevant to all of you. She comes from UP. And she was asking me, if I am asked this question, whether demolishing of Babri Masjid was right or wrong. A very critical, very sensitive question, and we should know how to answer it. Now, I'm not answering it right now. I will take a session on sensitive questions. So what I would suggest to all of you is here as follows. Go through your DAF in a very focused manner. Read every part of your DAF. The first part of DAF is not that important because it's basically factual information. The second part of DAF is very important. Pen down all the questions that come to your mind, all exhaustive as possible. And try and think of answers to those questions. If you are unable to answer certain questions and you feel uncomfortable, we'll have a round of discussion on that. But I would like everyone to be benefited, because otherwise I have to keep repeating the same thing over and over again over the phone. It's very difficult for me because there is a time constraint at my end also. But I would certainly like to interact with you. So all sensitive questions, we'll have a questions on sensitive questions, a session on sensitive questions where we'll take up those questions. And what I want to convey to you very clearly, which I tried to do in the first session also, it is not what you answer. What is most important is how you answer that question. How do you approach that answer? You are not supposed to know answers to all the questions. In fact, even after 38 years of service, I still do not know answers to all the questions. But I can suggest to you, how do you approach an answer? What is critical is the manner in which you reach out, you approach that answer, and I will take clear examples to explain to you. With these words, let me come to the session today, which is titled as the DAF detailer. The reason why we said this is that in our research on the basis of questions last year, as I mentioned earlier also, we discovered that more than 60% of the questions are picked up from DAF. And hence DAF becomes a very critical document. And that is why right from the beginning we have been insisting that please show us your DAF before you submit it. Most of you did it, and I think they are much more improved draft this time, but some of you didn't. Some of you have still written a few funny things in DAF. Now, whatever is done is done. You will have to live with that. We will try in our conversations with you, try and suggest to you what are the possible tricky questions that can come out of the DAF, and then maybe guide you how to prepare that. But before I start this, I hope, and I want to see nods of your heads, I hope all of you are following the drill of reading the editorial article aloud. Navneet, are you doing that? So you didn't even nod your head, you know, I'm asking you to nod your head. You can do it Hyderabadi way also, I understand this. But it's better if you nod it this way, it's clearer. So I'm assuming all of you are doing that. Mind you, this is the single most technique to improve the manner in which you speak, to improve your knowledge, to improve your diction, to improve your vocabulary. It's really enormously helpful. So those of you that are not doing it, please do that regularly. This is very important. If you're not regular, then it won't help. It's like a pill. It's a daily pill. If you don't do it regularly, you know, you will hear from those that have qualified in the past 2-3 years, and you'll also hear how they benefited through this drill. So I keep repeating that. Don't miss out on that. That is one. Second of you, I'm assuming all of you are a part of some group or the other. Yes, I see many nods. I see very many nods. Pooja has not been able to say yes or no. Pooja, are you member of some group? Yes, good. Thank you. So participate in group discussions regularly. Give it a priority. Unless there's an emergency, don't skip that. If you skip that, it will be at your own peril. The reason is very simple. I have had the occasion to visit some of the groups, and I was impressed at the manner in which those group discussions were happening. I must also confess, I find them much better than what I saw last year. So I'm glad that you all are indulging yourself, but sometimes I find some of you coming late to group discussions, which I think is being unfair to other group members. You get into the habit of getting late, you will become a civil servant. Yes, you will, but you will get such a terrible name for yourself that you will think, why did you become a civil servant? I'm telling you from experience. So get into the habit of being on time. There can be 1 or 2 times when you are late, one can understand. But if you come late, at least have the courtesy to apologize and say, I couldn't join at this point in time because of this reason, I am now joining. See, these are courtesies that you develop naturally, it will help you later on. Okay, with these words, we come to DAF detailer. Here, what we are trying to do today is to suggest to you on the basis of the feedback that we got from the aspirants who appeared in the personality test last year, as to what sort of questions can be asked on what you have written in DAF, right? So we'll show you slides just to indicate to you the type of questions. This will enable you to think about your own DAF. The idea here is not to provide answers to all the questions. The idea here is to make you think about your own DAF so that you can write the questions yourself. and then your discussion with me on one-on-one or future sessions will be much more meaningful. We have not taken DAF of this year, what you all have filled. These are DAFs of the previous years and actual questions that were asked on the basis of the DAF. For your DAF related questions, we'll have a separate session where you can ask questions. Sir, I have written this. This is the likelihood of a question. I think whether this should be the right answer or not. We'll have much more detailed discussion there. Is that fine? Shall we go ahead with this? Now this one? Right. Thank you. So here you have something had written harmonium here, music. Now look at the question. Something would have happened with this harmonium controversy. Now what is expected of you is that anything that you've written here, around that if some recent event has happened, you should be able to answer that. Now it may perhaps not be asked of anybody else. Now suppose flute is written here, okay. Now if the person who played the flute best, he somehow passed away or he did a performance, you should know that. Because that's your hobby. Now, as I keep saying, hobby does not mean that you should become an expert in that area. That's the difference between hobbies and expertise. You don't have to be an expert, but you have to be aware. So if you love playing harmonium and you enjoy playing harmonium, then if something has happened in the national or in the international arena with related to harmonium, you are supposed to know. Is that okay? So this is something we should keep in mind, that whatever is written here, when you write reading fiction novel, for example here, so I am digressing a bit, this question was not asked of this candidate, but you could be asked, which is the last fiction novel that you read? Now you can't say, sir, I don't remember the last fiction novel. No, that is not acceptable. You should know which last, and then you should know something about that novel. You need not know in detail. Now let me contrast with something else, which I think I mentioned last time. When I was being interviewed for the second year, there was a gentleman sitting on the board who was reading a book. And he read out a statement from that book. And he asked me, what do you make out of this book? Now I had obviously not read that book, so I'm not supposed to know the details. I could get away with that. But suppose he was reading a book which I at some point in time mentioned that I have read it, then you are expected to know the answer. Is that understood? So in your hobbies, you don't have to become an expert. Number one, if some recent occurrence has taken place, happening has had, either nationally, internationally, you should be aware of that. Right? This is very, very important. Second, you should know clearly the answer. Why do you treat it as a hobby? And again, I don't know whether I said last time or not. Not in my IAS interview, in some other interview, I had given music as my hobby. And I don't think I should have done that because I didn't know much about music. So this guy asked me, Mr. Surup, can you sing? So immediately it came to my mind, and don't try that. I did that, I got away with it. I said, sir, I am a Kansen, not a Tansen. So I got away with that. If you can get that sense of humor, nothing like it. But you should be able to have some idea about the area that you've written here, right? Now here you have. Now this is a very dangerous thing that was written here, because unless you know something here, and this is extracurricular activities such as hobbies, reading Bhagavad Gita. I would have not advised him to write that, because on the other side of the, the board members, everyone would believe that he knows Gita. Each one of us at this age believes that we know Gita, whether we know it or not, and then make your life difficult. But anyway, since you've written Bhagavad Gita, look at the question that was asked. And this is the natural question. This is not worked out question. You have chosen Sanskrit as your optional. Your hobby is reading Bhagavad Gita. What is written in Bhagavad Gita apart from doing your duty without expectations? Please tell us in 2-3 lines. You understand this, because everyone talks about कर्मण्य वाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. वो तो है ही, कर्म क्या किया आपने, उसके अलावा क्या है भगवद गीता में? Now you can't get away by saying that you are a student of Sanskrit and you read Bhagavad Gita and say, sir, I don't know anything beyond कर्मण्य वाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु. वो तो नॉन हॉबी वाले को भी पता है. I mean, my hobby is not reading Bhagavad Gita, but I know कर्मण्य वाधिकारस्ते. So if you have a hobby, you should have something more than a man on the street. You get this point? You can't get away by saying, sir, हमने सिर्फ कर्मण्य, तो आपको गीता पढ़ने की क्या जरूरत थी? तो हर जन जानता है कर्मण्य वाधिकारस्ते, करे ना करे. So you have to. I am glad at least some of you are smiling. Others तो ऐसा लगता है कि गौतम बुद्ध अवतरित हो गए हैं. मुस्कुराना भूल दिया आप लोगों ने. तो मैं आप लोगों की शक्ल इसलिए देख रहा हूँ कि मेरी बात दीवार पे लग रही है या आपके मस्तिष्क में जा रही है ना? तो थोड़ा कभी कभी एक्सप्रेशन आ जाए तो अच्छा रहता है. जब बोर्ड मेंबर भी आपसे कुछ पूछ रहा हो तो उसको लगना चाहिए कि उसकी बात आप तक पहुंच रही है। आप ऐसे बैठे रहेंगे तो कैसे, वो कहेगा मालूम नहीं कहाँ घुस रही है, पहल रही नहीं, पहुंच रही है ना। थोड़ा चेहरे का एक्सप्रेशन बनाइए, है ना। सो what is the use of different yoga written in Bhagavad Gita as the society is moving towards materialistic thing? Now, if I were asked this question, I can't answer this question. This gives me to another point. I am looking at some of the discussions that are happening in your groups, which are very erudite, intellectually very profound discussions that are going on, very detailed. My friends, it does appear that you all have very good knowledge, which you are supposed to be when you do give your mains exam. It's the height of knowledge that you have. I don't have that knowledge. And let me tell you, board members will also not have that knowledge. So as far as knowledge is concerned, don't try and display too much knowledge. I keep repeating, it is how you present that knowledge before the board that will matter. So focus on the how part of it quite a lot, not as much on the details. You know, maximum you will speak for 2-3 minutes, not beyond that. इससे ज्यादा भाषण वो आपका नहीं सुनेंगे क्योंकि उनको सबको अपनी आवाज अच्छी लगती है, ठीक है। तो आपको तो उतनी नॉलेज होनी चाहिए. It's no harm in having lesser knowledge and better expression than having more knowledge and poor expression. So focus on expression much more. Here, if suppose, for example, you don't know this, I'm taking another, then confess it. Don't try and guess it. I said that in my first session. I will repeat time and again. Don't guess something you do not know. Why? In hobby at least, having a hobby does not mean you don't have the detailed knowledge. If they ask you कि भाई वो चौथे पन्ने पर भगवद गीता पे क्या लिखा है, तो you can safely say no and get away with it. You're not supposed to remember which page and which slok and where it is written. The general idea of Bhagavad Gita, yes, you are supposed to know, but not. So don't become nervous in the board if you don't know an answer. Even if the answer that you should have known, you don't know. Why? Because by living in that mistake, you will not be able to answer the question that you know well. You know, I committed that error in my first year. I did not know an answer. I could not get out of my failure of answering a particular question. In second year, I said no to 25% of questions and I used to get out of it. That is something which will come through practice. You are not supposed to know everything under the sun, and there's nobody on the earth that knows everything in the sun. That will give you enormous confidence that there will be, go prepared that there will be many questions that you will not be able to answer. Go mentally prepared. You should get into the psychology of being able to get out of your ignorance and then speak well on what you know. So what the board is looking at is how honest are you and what is your integrity about accepting your ignorance, lack of knowledge, mistakes. These are positive features. Don't become nervous if you don't know an answer. I am repeating this time and again because I know of large number of candidates who become nervous because they think that they should have known this answer, they should not know. There will be another situation where you know the answer but you are unable to recall at that point in time. There is a brain fade. It happens with me even now. And then you curse yourself even more. यार ये तो पता था नहीं बता पाए. So cursing yourself will deprive you of being fluent in subsequent questions. So as I keep saying, live in the moment. पहले हो गया है. And you are not the only one. Everyone has runs through that. So this is necessary for you to feel confident. Then there is another question where Bihar was stated here. Now again, this is totally different from the part that we were discussing earlier, hobbies. This is general and this applies to anything. You could be from UP, you could be from Karnataka. So what you should know is, first you should know a bit about historical context of the state that you are coming from. So people coming from Uttarakhand should know when it got divided, what were the issues with the UP government, what were the initial issues that were faced. People from Chhattisgarh should know that. Has bifurcation helped? Has it not helped? So you have to think in terms of all possible questions. Fundamentally, you should know the primary problems that afflict the state that you are coming from. What are the primary problems? You should be able to list them out. You don't have to list out 20 of them. Start listing 3-4, वो अपने आप रोक देंगे आपको. Then you should also know the possible solutions to that problem. Now, you should not be, as I heard in some of the group discussions, making categorical statements. I have been repeatedly saying that at your age, you are not supposed to know answers to everything. You are not supposed to have frozen views on issues. So never start answering a question by a yes or no. Please explain and then come to a conclusion in the end, whatever that conclusion is. Don't make categorical statements. Don't make extreme statements. Both are equally bad. And hence, if you recall my first session, please take a look at it again. I have suggested a few phrases that you can use while answering the question. Now, let us take a look at the questions here. You are from Bihar, very populous state. Land holdings are very small. What are the steps government is taking to solve the issues for small and hold farmers? Now, this is a very major problem of the state. So, anyone coming from Bihar would be aware of this, should be aware of this, and should also be aware of the steps taken. And that's why I said earlier, you should be aware of the problems of your state and the steps taken so far and your own views on that. They will ask you, if you, for example, you made the chief secretary of the state, what will you do? Now, you're not supposed to know everything there, but you should be able to present some suggestions before the board and say, these are the possible way forward. I'm using the word possible. You should not say these are the way forward. This is how it should be done. These terms like should, etc. should be avoided as much as possible. Yours are suggestions. And this does not show that you are not sure about what you're saying. You are sure about what you're saying on the basis of the facts at your command. But at your age, you are not in control of all the facts. Perhaps you're not privy to all the facts. So some more facts come in, probably you will change your view. So some people ask me, sir, we will appear as not sure of ourselves. No, you are sure of yourself on the basis of the information available at your command. If more information becomes available, then probably you could even reconsider your view, and that's a positive feature of a personality, right? So, are FPOs working good in Bihar? No, let us assume you don't even understand what an FPO is. Sir, I'm sorry, sir. I have not understood the FPO part of it. ठीक, या तो वो बता देगा या वो आगे बढ़ जाएगा. वो आपसे ये नहीं कहेगा you should have known. They will never say that. But if you don't know something and if you want a clarification, seek a clarification from the board. No harm. Don't ever think by seeking clarification आपके number कट जाएंगे. No, it won't happen that way. Then, is it practical to combine lands increase mechanization? Now, this mechanization part could be asked for Punjab, could be asked for any other state. But that guy who would have asked, I don't know who asked this question, could have been from Bihar. So he would know much more about Bihar than anybody else. Then Brahmins don't want to share land with lower caste. Now this takes to a different way altogether. Now this is the caste related issue, the feudal culture of that place. Again, my friends, don't take an extreme view and say, sir, Brahmins have destroyed Bihar, and you destroyed yourself by saying that. Don't take an extreme view. Some people, some people have been in conversation with me and they become very emotional about it. I tell them, please don't be emotional. You may have a point of view. You have, for example, what is happening to some people get very excited about what is happening, say, in Israel, from one part or the other. Some people favor Hamas, the others say Israel. No, my friends, you may have a personal view on that. But as a civil servant or a budding civil servant, you are supposed to have a balanced view. So don't take extreme views. So these type of questions could be asked. The idea of presentation today is, on the basis of these questions, you frame your own questions on your own DAF that you submitted and make an exhaustive list of that, and gradually in discussions with your friends, with us, you can find answers to them. Here's another one. Now he's come from the Vishwesvaraya Technology Institute. Now it could be, they could ask about technology, they could ask about university, they ask about Vishwesvaraya, they will ask about Bangalore, they will ask about Karnataka, since you are from there, anything related to that. But here they picked up Vishwesvaraya, and look at the question, what were the contributions of Vishwesvaraya? Now anyone coming from Vishwesvaraya University should know this. Similarly, anyone coming from Banaras and having studied in IIT Banaras or Banaras Hindu University should know about Madan Mohan Malviya. You are expected to know that. Now let us take an extreme case where you don't know. Admit it. You may get some negative marks, but if you try and fib, you will get even more negative. So you cut your losses. So don't fib. You are supposed to know. If you prepare yourself well, you would have actually visualized. Last year experience tells me, because last year we went into the details of DAF related questions, all those candidates who did study their DAF well have done extremely well. So this becomes very important. They asked, what are the provisions included? Now, this comes from the electrical part. Here, They say electrical and electronic, anything could be asked. So you should understand this. Then this is something which happened recently at that point in time. So whatever you've written here, if something new has happened or interesting has happened, you are supposed to know about it. Do you know about distribution companies, discoms? Now this comes from engineering, electrical. This question will come from there. Then what are the new technologies in electrical domain? So all this is coming out of this, what they have written here. And mind you, as I said, 60 to 70% questions emanate from DAF. So you can actually prepare very well for them. Now playing chess. Now any type of questions emanating out of chess could evolve. They could ask you the difference between the Indian variety of chess and the international variety of chess. Now if you have a hobby as chess, you are expected to know the difference between the two. And if they ask you how does the pawn move and how does the queen move, you should be able to tell. Anyone who plays chess would know that. But they will ask you. Then they will ask you related questions like statecraft. Now anyone interested in chess is supposed to know, because if you look at the origins of chess game, it was born out of learning the statecraft. They could even have asked, does chess help you otherwise apart from the hobby part? Does it help you concentrate? Does it help you relax? You should be able to answer those questions. Again, the point that is being made here is that whatever you write here, you should visualize questions that will come. We have not mentioned questions here, but reading self-help books could lead to a lot many other questions. Does reading help? Has it helped you? What are the self-help books that you have read? Can you name some of them? What is the lesson that you derived from them? How did you practice them? Do you still practice them? Any number of questions. So what you've written here assumes importance. Then here, cities, Varanasi, Faridabad. It could be anything. It could be mechanical engineering. Questions from engineering could emerge. Then Haryana, it could emerge. You are coming from Haryana. So what are the problems that Haryana faces? If Haryana has been in the news in the recent past, what are the major issues that afflict Haryana? Female infanticide, what has happened to it? So all issues relating to that state, you should try and brush them up, and you should have your own point of view on those issues. But again, as I keep repeating, your point of view is a point of view. That is not the answer, the only answer, and it should not be expressed as such. Let us look at the questions that were asked. Cultural significance of Banaras. Anyone come from Banaras should be able to answer this question. People not from Banaras should also be able to answer. But if you lived in Banaras 2 years, 3 years, you should be able to understand here they are not seeking a factual information from you. They are seeking how do you approach an answer to a question like this. It's very, very important. Similarly, look at any similar holy city in Haryana. And if you lived in Banaras, you come from Haryana, you should know it, which is the holy city, should be able. But this is a factual question. There won't be very many factual questions asked of you. It's a very rare factual question that is asked. In most of the cases, it will be the opinion that will be sought. Then Faridabad, in which year established and why. If you don't know this answer, don't worry. I have deliberately written this question here. You're not supposed to remember the years in Faridabad just because you happen to live in Haryana. It is not by Battle of Panipat that you remember the year. Even if that you don't remember, doesn't matter. So this guy was asked too many factual questions. It doesn't really matter whether you say yes or no. It doesn't really matter. Then tell me the post-STEM independence story of Faridabad in detail. Now it appears that since he's written Faridabad here, such details are being sought. Such details can be sought of you about the city where you lived. So you may not remember the year, but you should know how has Faridabad evolved over the years. So year is a factual information. How it's evolved is more of an idea that you have how it has happened. Now, Gurgaon, from Faridabad to Gurgaon, and from Gurgaon it could go off to concrete jungle, environment, drainage, anything. So here again, if you know the art of responding, or how to respond, art of responding, sorry, not responding, art of responding, you should be able to tackle almost any questions that is thrown at you. Now here, the guy had given mechanical engineering. It could be from Varanasi. Here again, you have Varanasi here. So question could have been asked about Varanasi. Somebody else was asked about Varanasi. Here, he was not asked about Varanasi. The focus was on mechanical engineering. So what is it? What are the different types of turbines? Now, mechanical engineer should know, would know. No, here, more than the fact of the types of turbines, it is how you present your answer that's very important. I keep using this word as to how do you present an answer. This is very, very critical of how you present the facts at your command. Not knowing a fact will not be held so much against you, but if you are unable to present them properly, as civil servants you will discover, and I'm sure many of you will qualify, that a lot of facts become available. You don't have to fight for facts. You don't have to fight hard for facts. The question is, how do you interpret the facts? How do you present the facts? That is an attribute that is being sought from civil servants, and that is the attribute that is being tested by the board. So, more than the facts, obviously, anyone who's done mechanical engineering would know the types of turbines. It's how you present, because the next question could be, when you tell about turbine, they will ask you that what is the application difference, how it is applied. So, these sort of things. What is knocking in an engine, how to avoid it? Now, knocking is something could be asked of anyone who knows how to drive a car, and you know knocking happens in the car. It could happen elsewhere. So, if you don't know about it, say no. Don't worry about it. Sometimes we get worried about our ignorance, and that's why I keep repeating, you're not supposed to know everything. Even if you're supposed to know something and you don't know, say so. That will give you enormous confidence. Don't worry about it, your ignorance about facts. My problem with you would not be ignorance about facts sitting on this side of the table. My problem would be that what you know you are unable to present properly. Because these days in the new world, in my time we didn't have facts at our command. Today everything is available on the phone. If I want to ask anything, I'll get it from there. Turbine, what types of turbine, what is knocking, everything will be there on the phone. So information is not a problem. The question is how that information is presented and interpreted. For that, you have to develop your communication skills. Then of course, I don't know what tetraethyl lead is. Frankly speaking, I don't know. If someone asks me, I'd say no. I'm not expected to know. Even this guy, if he's forgotten about it, doesn't matter. If he knows it, he should say that. Now, this is a very interesting aspect. Some of you have this army background. You must understand the issues with army, the positives of army, the attributes of an armyman, what have you learned from them, all these aspects. And if you've been somewhere, so for example, you've been Rakhmuti or Akhnur, how is that place? No, none on the side of the table who are interviewing you would know about these places. So they're not bothered about facts. Here again, they are more concerned about whether a person like you is aware of the surroundings where he lives. Because as a civil servant, you have to be aware of your surroundings. And if your eyes and ears are not open, if you're not perceptive, if you are unable to analyze, then what sort of a civil servant you will make? These are the attributes required of a civil servant, and hence you should know that. So, values inherited from army school should be able to, I mean, you would know it, but sometimes you don't know how to express it. And that's why it's important to look at your DAF very closely, very intensively, and see how do you answer those questions. Now, it's a very interesting hobby mentioned here, helping family in agriculture activities. Very interesting. But then there could be any type of questions that could be asked. And the questions, how would you help your family in agriculture? How do you do that actually? And this is where they will catch you if you've written it wrongly here. And if you are unable to express properly, you will be caught, and that will be serious. So don't write, since you've already written it, don't say something which you haven't done. Those people are very smart. They will catch you. So be truthful to yourself and to everyone else. Be straight. As I keep saying repeatedly, if you haven't done something, if you don't know anything, say no. That's the best answer. Then as a farmer, what problems faced by your family? Very natural question. What problem does a farmer face? I'm sure anybody who wrote this would know this, but he would not have practiced answering that question, and that's where the problem arises. I don't think anybody who's been a farmer or helped a farming family would not know the problems that a farmer faces. The key question in a board is, you may know, but if you are unable to express, and that's the reason why in the beginning I said, improve your diction, improve your communication skills, that will help you to express yourself eloquently. Issue of chemical fertilizer. Very natural question for farmers. Organic fertilizer, chemical fertilizers, what could be the difference? What is nanoliquid area? Now, I don't know what this is. So if I don't know, I'll say no. As simple as that. Have you seen bottle of it of liquid urea, nanoliquid urea? It's a factual question. If you've seen it, say yes. If you haven't seen it, say no. Then is soil health card a successful scheme? This is something which everyone would know. Anyone who studied it, appearing before the board, even if you haven't held a farmer, you would know about the soil card part. But here they are asking him of his personal practical experience because he says that he held the family. Now here again, Vedanta Limited. Now this is a very interesting area. Vedanta can take you anywhere. You written here, it could be actual Vedanta, the Upanishads. They could talk about it. They haven't asked it here. But here, it's talking about the company Vedanta. Then you should know, since you work there, you should know what are the problems that company has faced, what are its antecedents, what could possibly future. And that's why when you look at your own DAF, look at various aspects of what you've written here. Look at the questions that were asked. What was your job profile? Here again, the guy would know his job profile. But the question is whether he is able to express what his job profile is. Then there are indeed environmental related issues relating to Vedanta. Huge number of them. Anyone who's not even worked there should know them. But anyone who's worked there is expected to know what are the environmental related issues. Here again, don't give in categorical answers whether Vedanta was right or wrong, whether environment was destroyed or not destroyed. Take a middle path, right? Then is it right to sacrifice the environment? Now this goes to a general question which each one of you should be able to answer. Please take note of this question. This could be asked of anybody irrespective of Vedanta. Is it right to sacrifice the environment for mining and developmental activities? Anyone could be asked this question, but it has emanated from Vedanta. But this is something which each one of you should be able to answer. Then isn't Kampa? Now, some of you may not know Kampa, some of you may know Kampa. If you know Kampa, you should be able to answer. If you don't know Kampa, say, sir, I don't know Kampa. What is Kampa? Then measures to balance development and environment. This is related to this question. Third and fifth are related questions. So such questions could be asked of you. Here, now had he consulted me before filling the DAF, I would not have asked him to write this. Because this is hardly a great achievement. But he asked this question, never. Since he wrote Rajasthan Public Service Commission, there are issues relating to Rajasthan Public Service Commission and why you didn't get the job after clearing it. So this is again a question emanating out of what you've written in DAF. Origin of Ghumar. Now, since he's written Ghumar there. Even as a hobby, you should know where and how did this dance emerge. You are expected to know that. Let us assume for the sake of argument, you don't know. As I said in music, I said I am a Kansen, not a Tansen. I don't understand Sa. I told the board that I don't understand that between Sa, Re, Ga. I don't understand. So as a hobby, and then I explained further, sir, I listen to music which I like. I don't understand the nuances of music, but I appreciate it. Fair enough. If you know it, explain it. If you don't know it, you can skip that and say you don't know. Here again, patent holder. Now this is in trouble. There will be some guy sitting there who would know that. I would not have written all this here. This year we were more particular about reaching out to you on writing what you write in DAF. Last year we couldn't do that. We came late. They had already filled in the forms. And patent, look at the questions. What have you been doing since this, of course, since he appeared last year and he was there. This question can be asked of each one of you who has spent doing nothing in the past 3-4 years. In one-on-one discussions, I'll try and explain to you how you can possibly answer that question, but it will be different for different persons. You must have a good answer to a question. If you have not done anything after your graduation or post-graduation, you've just been preparing for the civil service. So that's the question that they would ask. Then, of course, if you are a patent holder, you should be able to explain what sort of patent you hold, what is the process, how did you get it, what is the international organization, what are the problems with regard to patent. So everything that emanates out of it should come here. Now, there are people who opt for, here of course is the usual thing, first Indian Administrative Service, Foreign Service, Police Service. Some people have given Indian Police Service as the first choice. Nothing wrong with it. But you should have a good explanation to explain why you have placed Indian Police Service over the IAS. Or some people have put in Revenue Service, which is right here, 14 number, as number 1. You should be able to explain why do you want to opt for Indian Revenue Service and not the IAS, which is the usual turn. This is again not to say that one service is better than the other. Anywhere you go out of the routine, then you should have a clear answer as to what that should be, right? This is it.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।